Welcome to our senior secondary biology. We continue with dentition. Actually, this is when we're starting dentition. We are just continuing animal nutrition. This is as part of animal nutrition. So for those who are interested in private tuitions, especially those who are preparing for GCE, and also for those who are preparing for internal exams, the grade 12s, you can get in touch with me on these contact details. So you can WhatsApp or call me on that number, and of course you can email me using that email address. Of course, I'm referring to those who are preparing for ECZ exams, that is the Zambian standard exams, not outside Zambia. With that in mind, let's continue. So dentition, what is dentition? So dentition refers to the types, numbers, and arrangement of teeth in the mouth of an animal. Okay, so I've talked about types of teeth. Dentition should talk about the types of teeth in a given animal. It should also talk about how many teeth are there in an animal. It should also talk about how these teeth are arranged. Okay, so types, numbers, and arrangement. Okay, that's what dentition is all about. Now there's what is called a dental formula, which gives us all this information. Okay, so dental formula refers to the number and arrangement of teeth according to type on the upper and lower jaw in one half of the mouth. Okay, so according to dental formula, it gets the mouth divides it into one half, then it just concentrates on one side. It can be the left side or the right side. So that's what the dental formula shows. It shows the number of teeth on one side of the mouth. It can be left or right, because what is on the left is the same as what is on the right. Okay, of course we're talking about an animal that has not been involved in an accident or anything. Okay, so so on one side there are teeth which are on the upper jaw and those which are on the lower jaw. So it will tell how many are on the upper jaw and how many are on the lower jaw. So whatever is on the whatever is on one side, it is also on the other side. So dental formula gives you half of the total number of teeth in the mouth. So this is a general picture of a tooth. Okay, so basically it is made of these parts here, which can be grouped into three parts: the crown, the neck, and the root. The crown is the upper part, which you can see as a tooth. Then the part which connects the upper part that you see to the gum. The gum is the pinkish structure in your mouth. So what connects the crown to the gum is called the neck. So this is the neck here. Then anything below the neck, below the gum, is called the root. Okay, so then there's what we call the internal structure of a tooth. So the internal structure is now the inside here. So we're going to study these structures: enamel, dentine, pulp, cavity, gum, cement, nerves, and blood vessels later. So let's continue from here. So we start with types of teeth. Remember, dentition is about the type of teeth, the number of teeth, and the arrangement of teeth. Okay, so we're going to start with types of teeth. So there are basically four types of teeth in the mouth. These are incisors, canines, premolars, and molars. Okay, so we're going to start with incisors. So incisors are chisel-shaped teeth used for cutting and biting. Okay, so I know most of my students have issues with the English. So what does it mean to be chisel-shaped? Chisel-shaped is to have this shape here. So this is chisel-shaped. So in short, the teeth in front of your mouth that when you are eating shima, you use to cut the shima in parts. For example, you don't want to put the whole whatever you have in your hands. I can't recall the word for ndongo as we call it in vernacular. If you try to cut it so that part of it is in your mouth, part of it remains in your hand, you use the incisors. So these ones in front of your mouth, they are the incisors. So they are said to be chisel shaped because they look like this part here. Okay, so they are used for cutting, like cutting shima, and biting. If you are fighting, you want to bite someone, you are going to use the incisors. If a question comes like what are incisors used for, if you can forget this, then you're not being fair on me. Cutting shima and biting people if you want, but of course we're not talking about animals, we're talking about different, we're not talking about humans, we're talking about different animals, but they all go down to two functions: cutting and biting. So each incisor only has one root. Remember, we said the tooth has a crown, the top part, the neck, the part where it connects with the gum, and the root. So each incisor has one root. Canines are pointed teeth used for tearing flesh, suffocating prey, and carrying young ones. Okay, so some animals use teeth to carry young ones. Also, an animal like a lion can use its canine to suffocate maybe an impala. Okay, so that is what it means by suffocating prey here, and of course tearing flesh. Okay, so that's what canines are used for. For us humans, when you are eating meat which is not that cooked, like it's hard to separate meat from the bone or to cut it. Yeah. Anyway, when you're eating meat, so we use canines just to separate a portion of meat from the whole meat, so that that portion, so that we eat that portion. You can't use incisors because they are not that strong, and they are not designed to tear. They're just designed to cut and bite. Okay, so canines are used to tear, suffocate, and carry young ones. The next ones are premolars. So premolars are these ones at the back, but not at the far back, but these ones which we usually use for chewing. But even at the back, they are what we call molars. They have similar, they have nearly the same function. Actually, they do the same job. So as you are going to see, so premolars have broad and rich teeth used for grinding or crushing food. Okay, then after premolars we have molars. So molars are used for the same function and they have the same shape: broad and rich teeth used for grinding or crushing food. So let's take a picture of let's take a look at a picture of all these types of teeth. So we're going to concentrate on the crown, not the root. Okay, so the crown, the incisor looks like this. Okay, then the canine is pointed, as you can see here. It's pointed. It's different from this one, which is chisel shaped. Okay, then the premolar looks like this. It's just a bit smaller than the molar. So the premolar and molar are both ridged. To be ridged, to have armor portals here somewhere on the surface, like there are some ridges. Okay, so a premolar is just a bit smaller as compared to a molar, but they basically do the same function. It's just that the molar does it far much better than the premolar, since it's broader than the premolar. Okay, so these are the teeth: incisor, canine, premolar, molar. So now we go into the inside of a tooth. Okay, so on top here, the white thing that you see on a tooth is called an enamel. So an enamel is the hardest substance in the body. It is harder than the bone. That's why some people can even break bones using their teeth. The enamel is strong, but it has one weakness: it can be dissolved by acid. So if you put some acids here, they can dissolve this enamel. Okay, so we'll talk about this issue of an enamel being dissolved, but it is its job is to protect the entire structure of a tooth, and of course it is the one that is involved in the actual act of chewing, biting, and the likes. Then below the enamel is what is called the dentine, this one. So this is a bone-like structure. It has it is a bone just below the enamel. Okay, I know they say amino mafupa, but the actual mafupa here is the dentine here. Okay, the enamel is harder than bones. Okay, so going deep here into the dentine, its job of course is to protect, to offer extra protection to the enamel and to connect the enamel with the other parts here of the tooth, which are a bit sensitive and are not that strong. So when you go deep down here, this is pinkish reddish in color, called pulp cavity. So the pulp cavity has nerves and blood vessels. Nerves are the ones that get senses, like they make a tooth sensitive. So when there's something hot here, the nerves are going to detect that there's something hot here and they're going to send to the brain. Okay, if there's something cold here, the nerves are going to detect that there's something cold and they're going to send to the brain, so that the brain knows that okay, there's something cold, and you feel there's something cold in the mouth. Okay, so it's because of the nerves. Then also there are blood vessels. The blood vessels bring blood here so that the tooth has oxygen and has food. Okay, not the food that you're going to be eating here, but the absorbed food will come here to make sure that all the cells here have what is needed for them to function properly. Okay, so away from the pulp cavity, between the dentine and the gum, there's a cement. So the cement does its job of cementing or holding the rest of the tooth to the gum. So these are the parts, the internal structure of a tooth. Functions of tooth parts. Okay, so what I've just said, we're going to take a look at them in details. So we're going to start with an enamel. So this prevents wearing away of the tooth. Okay, so to wear is to, I'll try to use vernacular. In Nyanja, we can say akusidira, then in Bemba, unless I just do the Nyanja Bemba translation, but I don't know the actual word in Bemba. Yeah, but it's to fade away, like part of it to be as you are using something, part of it is going to be used up, so that is wearing. So the enamel, since it's strong, it prevents wearing away of the tooth. You can keep on using the tooth, but it won't wear out. It also protects the tooth from damage. It is used as biting and grinding surface. However, like I said, the enamel can be dissolved by acids. We go to the dentine, the bone-like structure. So this is the bone-like tissue below the enamel. It links the pulp cavity to the enamel. That is its job. Since the pulp cavity is weak, it's not strong. Okay, so it acts as a link between the pulp cavity and the enamel. But why should the two be linked? It's because the enamel is the one that actually touches things in the mouth. So the pulp cavity, of course, has nerves which can detect the temperature of what has gotten into contact with the enamel. Okay, so that's how it is. So the enamel does the actual work, then the pulp cavity detects. But in between, since the pulp cavity is weak, there is the dentine. So now the pulp cavity. So this is a space within the dentine which is made of tooth producing cells, nerves, and blood vessels. So the functions are to make the tooth sensitive to stimuli such as temperature, pH, and pressure. Stimuli are things that happen in outside that a living organism should respond to. So things like temperature, things like pH, things like chemicals. those are stimuli. Okay, so of course you can't just put something hot in your mouth because it can kill you. So the tooth has to know that this is hot so that you remove it. So the pulp cavity does that job using the nerves. Also, to supply blood to the tooth. So by supplying blood has oxygen and food. So it also supplies to the tooth through blood. Next, the cement. So this has one job, just to anchor the tooth to the jaw. We look at dental formula now. So the dental formula, like I said, is the number and arrangement of tooth according to the type on the upper and lower jaw in one half of the mouth of an animal. Examples of dental formula are, so let's take a look at dental formulas and how to understand them. So we have a dental formula for a human being, a cat, a cow, and a rat. Okay. So for a human being, the R represents the incisors, actually for all of them. The C is the canine, the PM is the premolar, the M is the molar. So these fractions, the number on top is for the number of tooth on the upper jaw, and the number on the bottom is the number of tooth on the lower jaw. Okay, so in short, for human beings, they are saying on one half of the jaw, just half of it, like left, there are 2 incisors on the upper jaw and 2 incisors on the lower jaw. Then canines, there is 1 canine on the upper jaw and 1 canine on the lower jaw. Premolar, 2 premolars upper, 2 lower. Molar, 3 upper, 3 lower. Now, if I ask, how many incisors does a human have in total? So what you do is you add these 2 numbers, 2 plus 2, 4. Then you multiply by 2. Or you say 2 times the sum of these numbers. So 2 times open bracket 2 plus 2. Okay, so in short, 2 plus 2, 4. 2 times 4, 8. So it means a human being has 8 incisors in total. But if the question is how many incisors are on one half of the mouth of a human, one half, just count these, 2 plus 2, 4. If the question says how many incisors are on the upper jaw of a human, so they haven't said one half of the upper jaw, they have just said the full upper jaw. Okay, so just the top part of the mouth, how many incisors are there? Of course, this 2 is just for half, so you have to multiply this 2 by 2. 2 times 2, 4. Okay, hope you have gotten the concept. So a random question, I'll ask 2 questions. The first question is, how many molars are on the lower jaw of a cat? So if you go on the cat here, so molars, we have these numbers of molars. So they've said lower jaw, this. The question is, are they asking for just half of the jaw or the full jaw? They have said on the lower jaw, just on the lower jaw. It means it's the full jaw. Okay, so on the lower jaw, it's 1. So since they want the full one, the entire lower jaw, so it's going to be 2 times 1, which is going to be 2. But if they say on one half of the lower jaw, it's just this one, 1. Okay, I'm sure you have picked it. Okay, so in short, and lastly, if they ask you how many teeth are in this animal, the human being, how many teeth in total, you have to add all these numbers and multiply them by 2, because these numbers here are just for half. Relationship between dentition and type of diet. Okay, so there is some sort of connection between what you eat and your dental formula. So we're going to take a look at 3 types of animals based on their feeding habits, what they eat. The first type of animals are called carnivore. So carnivores are animals that feed predominantly on flesh. So these are animals that just feed on flesh, inama. Okay, so what's so common about these animals? So they have these features. 1, their canines are very long and pointed to enable them to tear flesh and suffocate their prey. The presence of what are called carnassial teeth. which works like the blades of a scissors to slice meat and shear flesh from the bones. So these carnation teeth, they are positioned, or they are arranged in such a way that they act like scissors. Okay, so maybe let me just show you a diagram. Okay, so these are carnation teeth. These ones, they are more like premolars and molars, but they are called carnation because of how they are arranged. If you see here, this and this, they're acting like a scissors here. So if there is anything here, when this animal chews, it's going to cut like a scissors. Okay, so they are called carnation teeth. The next we look at a herbivore. So herbivores are animals that feed predominantly on vegetation. So these eat on veggies. They are vegetarians, so to put it. They don't eat meat. So what's so common about all vegetarians, like goats and cows? So their upper incisors are absent and replaced by a horny pad which works in conjunction with lower incisors to grip vegetation and wrench it. Okay, so instead of having upper incisors, they have got some pad which they use to make sure that they grip the vegetation and wrench it. There is a space between the incisors and premolars called the diastema. It is used to manipulate food by separating the freshly eaten food from the ones that is already being chewed. So as they are chewing, and again as they are getting new veggies, new grass, for example, they have to separate the two. So the diastema helps in separating what is being chewed and the new food that has just come in. So to understand the diastema and the horny pad, let's take a look at this picture. So this is a herbivore. So this is the diastema, which is used to separate what is being chewed here and other things here which are being taken in. So if an animal eats grass, it will take that grass, puts it here, then it will start chewing it. As it is chewing, it will take the other here. Okay, so these two here, they help in making sure that this is attainable. The last ones are us humans, pigs, called the omnivore. So the omnivores are those that feed on both fish and vegetables. Okay, human beings, pigs, yeah, and of course some dogs in our commons. Yeah, they when there's no food, they can feed on veggies, but yeah, dogs are supposed to be carnivores. So their dentition is not specialized for any kind of diet. They eat everything, so they're not specialized on veggies or flesh. Finally, we end this discussion by looking at tooth decay, which is very important. So this is the condition where the enamel of teeth is dissolved by organic acids. Remember, I talked about acids dissolving the enamel. So if you put a type of acid which are classified as organic, they are going to dissolve the enamel. So where does this acid come from, since we don't eat acid? So the acids are produced by a process called fermentation. So this is we're going to look at this, I'm sure, in the next topic. We're going to look at fermentation. So fermentation is where sugars are broken down by bacteria to form the organic acids. So when you eat shima, if part of shima remains on the tooth, then there are some bacteria which have bad manners. They are going to get that starch in the, of course, the amylase maybe would have converted that starch to form maltose. Okay, so now that maltose is a sugar. So these bacteria are going to break down this sugar to form these organic acids in a process called fermentation. So the dissolved part results in a cavity, each in here. So the part that has been dissolved, it will be a a cavity or ichilindi. I'm trying to use as many languages as possible. So when cavity reaches the dentine, the bone part, of course, the tooth starts getting painful. The pain increases further when the cavity reaches the pulp cavity. Remember, the pulp cavity is not strong, so the pain will be worse, like you can't sleep when it reaches the pulp cavity. The condition may be treated by 1. Filling the tooth in with cement. So the part where there is alkaline failure, you put cement. Okay, not cement as in like that one which is used to build, but there's to build the house. There's a special type of cement used to fill such cavities. Another solution is just to remove the tooth, so you can have your tooth extracted. So how do we prevent tooth decay? We know most of these things, okay? So when it comes to the test, don't tell me that you can't answer. First, brushing teeth with fluoride toothpaste after every meal. So using toothpaste that has a very special chemical called fluoride, it's going to help reduce tooth decay. Avoid intake of sugary foods. Why? Because sugary foods are sure they have sugar, so that sugar can be broken down to form the organic acids. Regular visits to the dentist. Taking food that are rich in calcium, phosphorus, and vitamin C and D. Remember, calcium, phosphorus, vitamin C, and D are very good for forming. First, let me say that again. Calcium, phosphorus, and vitamin D are very good for strong bone formation, which means you're going to have a strong dentine and strong enamel. Also, vitamin C is good for connective tissues, which means your pulp cavity, your gum are going to be strong. Using dental floss to remove food particles from teeth. So if there are some food particles that are stuck, you can be removing them. Otherwise, if they remain there, they're going to be broken down by the bacteria to form the organic acids. Using teeth properly by avoiding using them for opening bottle tops and the likes, as this may crack the enamel. Okay, so don't use teeth for a purpose that they were not created for, like opening bottle tops, because when the enamel cracks, then it's going to expose the weaker part of the tooth to the the unexpected temperature, pH, and also the acid. So this marks the end of nutrition. I'm sure you have enjoyed this one. Happy solving.